Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another video in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and today we are covering the Daring Droid, the mythic tier of the event. Luke Skywalker, Commander Luke is coming back, super excited, but as we usually do, before we have a character that has a required character, we get another shot at that required character. So just like BB-8 showed up before Jedi Rey, R2D2 is showing up before Commander Luke. If you don't have R2D2, then you need to complete that, which is called a legendary event. And once you've completed the legendary event, you get access to the mythic tier event, which is basically a recurring event with an extra chance to replay the mission and get extra loot. Along with the mythic tier event, there's 3 tiers. The first tier is just a replay of the tier 7 battle. You use the same team you used to unlock the character at tier 7, at 7 stars. It's just a replay of the battle with some additional rewards that you can get this time instead of getting the shards for the legendary character, which you already have. Then tier 2 of the battle is a replay of the same battle for tier 1, but you get to use any characters in your roster. So it's actually much easier betting that the characters you use that you're required to use for the event aren't your strongest characters. And then, of course, tier 3, the bonus tier, which has the really high rewards, is supposed to be super difficult. And you're locked into, basically, it's kind of a mirror match. You use the hero team or the enemy team as your heroes. So in the R2D2 mission, you use rebels against the Empire, as opposed to using Empire against the Rebels, A New Hope team. What's interesting is you're not required to use the exact same team that you face in the mission. You can use anyone from that faction. So you can use any Rebels. The only requirement is R2D2 at 7 stars, has to be in your lineup, and they thankfully put him in not the leader spot. So any Rebels are really strong. Most people have a good team of Rebels, so you can put together a pretty good one here. And R2D2 is also very strong, so I don't have mine zated. He's actually my weakest link in this roster. If you have a really strong R2D2, this will probably be a breeze for you. What I'm going to recommend is you bring along that old duo that we're so familiar with, Chase, which is Driod and Baze. And the reason for that will become apparent as we get into the video here. Basically, Baze's AoE dispel and then his secondary dispel are really important. And Driod's healing, his hots, his dispel for debuffs, all really important for this encounter. I rounded out my team with a Jyn lead. She has the Zeta. It's completely not necessary. You could probably use any leader you wanted. You could use a Wedge lead. You could use a Commander Luke lead if you have. And then I put Raid Han in because he's great. When the battle starts, it's similar to the final tier of the regular legendary event. All the enemy has 100% turn meter, and they get to go first. Raid Han does not get to shoot before any of those guys finish off their turn. So interesting to be aware of that. You're not going to get a free shot and a free stun. The enemy all gets to take their first turn. The enemy lineup consists of 2 stormtroopers, 1 scout trooper, 1 Grand Moff Tarkin, 1 TIE fighter pilot, and Darth Vader. And the Darth Vader is modified. He's not a standard Darth Vader. He actually has some unique tricks. And when the battle starts, they're all going to get to take their turn. So the stormtroopers are probably going to taunt, putting up a big wall in front of the other characters. And Darth Vader uses his Force Crush. I don't know if he'll use it every time, but he certainly did for me. And that has some extra tricks. As you can see, you get not only the slow, not only the speed down, but you get hit with daze. So if you have characters that rely on turn meter improvement for themselves, increasing their own turn meter, they're going to get blocked by Vader's first attack. And Han's Zeta ability, where he shoots twice on his basic, is based off of turn meter. So while he's dazed, he will not shoot the second shot. However, the good side is that Vader can be stunned. He has some other tricks that we'll get to as the video progresses. But as you can see, after that opening volley, we're in really rough shape. Lots of debuffs, dots, speed down, daze. Our team is in rough shape, and their biggest threat, Vader and then TIE fighter pilot, are locked behind 2 taunts. But if you have Baze he's going to be ready to roll. Also with 100% turn meter, thankfully, because of all of the buffing and debuffing that was going on there, he gained enough turn meter to be ready to roll at the start of my turn. And so I was able to use his AoE dispel to free up those taunts. Now, I focused on Vader first. I'm figuring, I don't know if his Culling Blade is a one-hit KO. They do some stuff like that in other events where the Emperor's Shock can be a one-hit KO. So I did everything I could to prevent Vader from getting any more attacks. And he can be stunned, his turn meter can be manipulated. So I was pretty successful as that, as you'll see throughout the video here. But we're going to start with focusing on Vader, stealing turn meter with Jyn's Truncheon Strike, using Han's regular attack, his basic, which can remove turn meter if Vader has a good amount of turn meter. And right here I make a really big mistake. I use R2D2's smoke screen when my entire team has buff immunity. Big mistake. This was the first time that I did this battle, and it was just, I didn't realize it with all the debuffs there. I should have cleansed with Chirrut and then used smoke screen on the next go around, and that would have made this fight even easier than it was. So a rookie mistake there for me on this fight, but just be aware, TIE Fighter Pilot can apply buff immunity, and you have R2D2, but don't use smoke screen until you've cleared the buff immunity debuff. Then you can have them focus on Baze, and the rest of your team will be able to DPS while he soaks up the damage, hopefully with a ton of heals from Chirrut, and you'll just be ready to roll through this. So again, we're saving Baze's second dispel, his single target dispel, because the stormtroopers are going to taunt eventually, and we don't want them to be blocking off our access to, again, the main priority characters for me, Vader and TIE Fighter Pilot. TIE Fighter Pilot is a high DPS character, has the AoE, has the buff immunity, and Vader, of course, has Force Crush, deals high damage. And you can see here, one of his other tricks, he gets one of the undispellable buffs. They call it Looming Presence or Formidable Foe or something like that, where he gets stacking defense that scales up as he gets weaker and lower in HP. Oh, it's Juggernaut. There we go. You can see it's Juggernaut. Bonus defense as health decreases. So as you deal more damage to him, he's going to take less damage. But a great counter for that, again, is Baze. His sweeping AoE attack, his AoE dispel, removes a % of health, which won't be affected by the defense stat. So still power through Vader. I think the idea they recognize here that you're going to try and focus on him first, but I still think it's important to do so. Also, an expose with the Jyn lead helps. That also removes a chunk of HP based on percentage and won't be blocked by the Juggernaut skill. So we get an expose, we use the sweeping AoE to remove the taunts, Vader goes down, and things got much easier. So now it's just micromanaging the turn meter here. TIE Fighter Pilot is stunned, had almost 100% turn meter. I decided to use Truncheon Strike to steal that full turn meter, prevent the stun from going away. It just delayed TIE Fighter Pilot in stun for a little longer, gave Jyn another turn immediately, and once again we remove the single target taunt, and now I'm just kind of picking and choosing here between Tarkin and TIE Fighter Pilot who's going to take their next turn. Tarkin was over 50% turn meter, Han's basic takes down his turn meter, and Truncheon Strike on TIE Fighter Pilot once again. We are just about ready to roll here. Chirrut with a heal just to clear debuffs, make sure we don't have any last minute screw ups. There's a smoke screen in the proper order once buff immunity and all the other debuffs are removed. And now it's clean up. We've got the scout and 2 stormtroopers. R2D2, a great addition if you're running a Zeta Jyn. If you have her, his burning can pop a ton of exposes and can really help you light up some damage on the enemy. So a good combo there, but again, not a necessary one. I have Jyn Zated for Galactic War back when it was difficult. I really relied on her to help get my main team through since I don't have a super deep roster, and so it also pops up for situations like this and territory battles where it's useful. So we are able to complete this. You can see the rewards, 2 gold mods. These are tenacity mods because you're using the rebels, and I showed you what they ended up upgrading to. I did get a speed secondary, but it only upgraded the speed once. 7 speed on a cross, not great, but certainly an improvement over for some of my characters based on what they have. I don't have enough speed mods to go around yet. And you get a nice 1 million credit bonus for completing tier 3 of the mission. So a nice little suite of rewards that you can get there, a challenging battle, but Rebels are a really strong faction, so you can kind of mix and match to get through it. But I really think that Chirrut and Baze are the clutch duo, and then you're tied into R2D2, so you pick a leader and one other one, and odds are you're going to pick Raid Han if you've got him, so then you just get to pick the leader of your choice. So what I did next is put in the Tier 2 battle, and this is basically the same thing. It's easier. You're fighting the same Rebel team now instead of the Imperials. They do start with full turn meter. The thing that I would note here is if you beat the mission, if you have a 7-star R2D2, you have access to the Mythic Event, you've beat this team, and you beat it with your Empire team. So being able to use anyone you want, you'll probably have no trouble with the Tier 2. I have it here if you want to see it. The one thing I will note is that you can't stun R2D2. So you noticed my first attack with Raid Han, guaranteed stun, did not stun R2D2. It wasn't resisted or anything, he's just immune to it. So don't waste your stuns on R2D2. If I had stunned Raid Han out of the gate, this would have been a much easier fight as well. But even with that mistake, with that knowledge that I picked up, and hopefully it helps when I pass it on, you can see that I don't have too much trouble, and I'm able to get through this one also on my first try. So I'm going to let this play out. I do get 2 mods again, purple mods for this battle, and I'll have what I upgraded those 2. They both had speed secondaries, and they both upgraded, so that was pretty nice. And then at the end of the battle, I have my characters that I use, the team. I'll show them in detail what abilities they have, what's Omega'd, what's not, what their mods are, and the stats. I don't show each mod, but you'll see the speed stat and the damage and the health and protection. So if you want to compare your roster to mine, you'll know if you're in the ballpark. If you've got close to what I've got here, you'll be able to beat this. Again, I made a number of mistakes and was still able to get through it my first time for each of these. So if you're in the ballpark, you'll be able to do the same. So hopefully this helped you out, gave you a little bit of insight or a tip on how to get through this mission, or if you're not there yet, you'll at least know what you need to work for the next time that this thing comes around. If this helped you out, please feel free to leave a like. I appreciate the support from you watching the video. Giving me a thumbs up or a comment is just all that much more appreciated. If you're not ready for Commander Luke, I can only tell you that I strongly encouraging you do whatever you can to get ready for Commander Luke. If you're close, get the shards you need. If you're gonna spend money in the game, getting Commander Luke is the time to do it. He is such a powerful character. I did not get him the first time around, and I have just been sitting on the sidelines for months waiting for him to come back, suffering through arena and territory battles and all that, territory wars. So he's coming 4 days from now from when I'm putting this video up. If you're close, do what you need to do to get him. He will be worth it. That's it for me. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.